27 years after the Women's Reservation Bill was first introduced in the Parliament, the Lok Sabha on September 20th passed a bill with near unanimity to amend the Constitution and provide one-third reservation to women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Calling it a historic legislation that will enable greater participation of women in the political process, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to X, that's formerly Twitter, to thank the Lok Sabha members. Remember, the 8-hour-long debate in the lower house of the Parliament yesterday witnessed members from the Treasury and opposition benches led by the Congress engage in a battle over who should get credit for the landmark bill and on the question of having a separate quota for women belonging to the other backward classes. Home Minister Amit Shah later assured the House that the government would rectify any shortcomings in the future. Now, the Congress, though, did make a U-turn from its very own 2010 position, with its leader Sonia Gandhi, who was the first speaker in the debate, leading the demand for a separate quota within quota for OBCs after conducting a caste census and going on to also call in for an immediate implementation of the bill. As the discussions on 33% reservation for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies are now being taken up in the Rajya Sabha, it is also being learnt that the Parliament will be adjourned sine die today itself after passing the Women's Bill in the upper house.
देश की मातृशक्ति का जो मिजाज बदलेगा, वो देश को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाने वाली एक अकल्पनीय अप्रतिम शक्ति के रूप में उभरेगा। आप सबने जो योगदान दिया है सदन के नेता के रूप में, मैं आज आप सबका पूरे दिल से, सच्चे दिल से आदरपूर्वक अभिनंदन करने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूँ।
देश की महिलाओं के बारे में मोदी जी की दोबारा याद आई, क्योंकि चुनाव आ गई तो फिर नया जुमला हो चुके हैं। हम क्यों इसका विरोध करें? ये तो हमारा ही मुद्दा है।
9.5 साल ही सही, थोड़ा विलंबित सोच ही सही, we will certainly support Women Reservation Bill in this house with all our criticism.
कोई रोड मैप नहीं और ये बिल पास किया जा रहा है। एक बड़ी आबादी को आपने खारिज कर दिया।
SC ST को और उसी तरह से पिछड़ा अति पिछड़ा की महिलाओं को भी उसी तरह से आरक्षण मिल जाना चाहिए। हम लोग अपना डिमांड कर रहे हैं, तो जो भी लगे देर लगे, लेकिन जो भी महिलाओं के लिए हो गया हम लोग तो शुरू से कर रहे हैं।
And we are getting some breaking news that's coming in from the Rajya Sabha, where we are told that the Congress MPs in the Rajya Sabha have now moved amendments for the other backward classes reservation within the 33% and immediate implementation of the reservation in the present setup of the seats. That's the latest that's coming in from the upper house of the Parliament. My colleague Pallavi is joining us on the broadcast for more. Pallavi, this is a Congress U-turn from its 2010 position, but this has been the unanimous sort of an accusation by the opposition against the government while they have gone ahead and introduced this entire bill.
Absolutely, and that is also because suddenly the OBC vote bank seems to have become very important in the scheme of things, and that's the reason why suddenly the Congress party, including the other India Front Alliance, have made this a big issue. And if you have heard the Rahul Gandhi speech yesterday, I would say 90% of his speech was focused on the fact that how this government is anti-OBC. He gave examples of secretaries at the centre where they are not only 2 or 3 OBC community, making the point that this government is that of an entitled people. The people who are backwards, who are downtrodden, are not even looked after by this government. And I think now they have decided that this is going to be their game plan. So even as a discussion is going on in Rajya Sabha on the Women's Reservation Bill, you have the Congress MPs who have moved for this amendment when they want this amendment to take place. Now, if this amendment is accepted, then, you know, the government may have to incorporate it, which means there could be a delay in the Women Reservation Bill. Because mind you, the OBC point is being raised not just by the Congress but also by the India Front Alliance, and in Rajya Sabha it's the opposition which does seem to be having an edge.
Right, Pallavi, thank you so much for all of those inputs there. Let me now open this up for my guests who are now joining us on Viewpoint this evening. Rakhi Rathore, who's spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Lavanya Balal of the Congress Party is with us. Also with us is Reena Dhaka, who's a fashion designer and also one of the invitees for the new parliament. Also joining us this evening is Mary Julie John, who's an advocate. Ravanya, I'll begin with you. Considering this recommendation has been given and it has been put out by the Congress MPs, this point that we just moved an amendment seeking the OBC quota, the quota within quota, and an immediate implementation might just delay the implementation of the bill and the passage in the Rajya Sabha. How is the Congress moving away from its own 2010 position?
Could you explain what do you mean by moving away from the 2010 stand?
There was no part of the OBC quota back then when the Congress had introduced the bill. Now suddenly the entire backing is on this. Of course, it's a removal from what your earlier stance was.
It is not a U-turn, Griha, if I may correct you. It's not a U-turn. We are just requesting that the OBC women must also be added. I'm sure anyone in this country will agree. Everyone in this country will agree that the OBC women must get more representation. I don't think that should be a problem at all. But yeah, it's a very exciting bill, but it's a little disappointing because BJP has the brute majority and every party is supporting this bill. Why should women be shown an open door but asked to wait for 7 years to enter through that door? That's a little disappointing.
No, that was also part of the argument that was made in the Lok Sabha by all your leaders, whether it's Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi for that matter. But why suddenly these amendments in the upper house of the parliament?
We need to, always, Griha, if we have missed something, it is a duty of the policy makers to ensure that they course correct, and the course correction is happening. We request a request from the central government is you have the political strength. You also must exercise the political will and pass this bill and not make women wait for some more years.
Okay. Ms. Rakhi Rathore, I'd like you to weigh in on this, on these recommendations, on these amendments that have been in fact presented in the Rajya Sabha. But I'd also like you to weigh in on what the Home Minister had said in the Lok Sabha, where he'd agreed that any kind of shortcoming in this particular bill is going to be dealt with in future. So does that mean that OBC quota within quota is going to be implemented?
No, that is not a problem behind. In fact, the main intention is that how we should move forward for the empowerment of women. That is the most intention, in the first intention which we are having. And this is the hypocrisy of Congress Party, because the same bill, in fact, in 2010 they came up with a bill without OBC quota, and now they are batting for OBC quota this time. And yesterday they supported us. In fact, yesterday we got support from all other parties as well, who in fact in 2010 didn't support Congress. So that clearly shows that other parties, they think that, they believe that if Modi ji hai to mumkin hai, and that is why they have supported us yesterday. They know that if something would be started by Modi ji, he will definitely complete it. And the main intention is that and we want to ensure that there should not be any legal complications while implementation of this bill, and that is the main motive, that why we want to get it implemented after 2026 census and after the formation of delimitation commission. And that is the main purpose, because we want it to, this is not a kind of thing which Congress has done, because they got it passed from Rajya Sabha in 2010 but didn't introduce the bill in Lok Sabha. That shows their intention, that what they wanted, they wanted to do a symbolic work. But we don't want to do it symbolically. We want to get it implemented on ground, and that is the main purpose behind it.
Okay, I'll go back to the symbolic point that you're making. I'd go back to that point that you're making, but let me actually get in my other speakers. Reena Dhaka is also with us. Reena, you were the special invitee in the new parliament. First of all, this is a historic step. It's moving towards completion. Your reactions to this? Would you say this is much delayed? It is going to get even further delayed, moving into 2029, maybe even beyond? Or do you think this is the step in the right direction?
Look, it is definitely the best step in the right direction. First of all, I agree that finally we have opened the doors to this date, even though it is very late, as we can all be, we're women here on this panel, and we can all agreeably say that. But yes, 9 years is a very long time. To be honest, I really thought it was 4 years. And I thought that was reasonable because maybe by the time it gets implemented and we see a kind of a deliverance, up to a 4 years, one can see it. And 9 years is a hellishly long time. Yes, it is true. And if we can do things overnight, then surely we can put this bill also into play in at a quicker speed, considering it's had the vote of everyone. Even the fiercest of foes have sort of got together for a change and agreed to vote on this. I also think, as an outsider, because someone like me, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say we're not connected with politics. We all are, because you make decisions and rules which change our lives every day. So I also hope that all these play of the parliamentarians and people who are going on with it, they would create such a system wherein the eventual efficacy of such a bill will come into play, and those hundreds of schemes and the reservations they're talking about, they will help improve and bring about a visible change in those, especially in the ones who need it the most, the remotest parts of India, be it education, healthcare, security, equal job opportunities. Those are very important, crucial, confidence building requirements of the women of India. There is hunger, there is poverty, there are a lot of old world ideas and schemes which prevent girls from going out sometimes to study, to take up normal course of action. So how do we make our streets safe, for one? So yes, there is a lot in that, but I hope this bill comes through sooner than 9 years, for sure. It has been the talk of it's on everybody's lips all over the world, and I'm very happy that I was there at that great day, that great moment. So I want to see it through.
So Raki, you've heard two panelists who are also talking about immediate implementation. I'll come back to you on that point of whether the Congress was looking at just a stamp by getting it passed in the Rajya Sabha and not introducing it in the Lok Sabha. But let me bring in Mary John also on this. Mary, there was a PIL that was filed before the Supreme Court in 2021 seeking reservation of women in the field of politics and otherwise. Do you think it was an easier step that's been taken by the Modi government, considering that response was being sought by the government, by the Supreme Court, and this was a sort of an easier access, and it was something that was laid open, and there can be a better statement that now can be made vis-a-vis political posturing also. I think you're on mute, Mary.
Thank you, Griha. So I would certainly, at the very outset, I would like to say that, whether this is some result of a political posturing or a response that the government is trying to say, I wholeheartedly, it's my personal view that this is a great development, and this will certainly go a long way to giving women that voice and that stand in the highest corridors of power. They have their voice now in the lawmaking process and also in the shaping of the legislative direction of the country. Now, I've been hearing the remarks about the whole implementation. Are we going to have to wait as long as 9 years? Unfortunately, I've also read the bill. The implementation process is very strictly linked to the undertaking of a census. And based on the results of that census, there will be a delimitation process. As you know, this involves a very detailed redrawing of the constituencies based on the demographics. So by the time all of this comes about, I know for certain that even the census that we know of now will probably only shape up post the next general elections. And then when it comes to delimitation, that process itself could take considerable time. So now the question is, I certainly think this is a great, in my personal opinion, this is certainly a great step in the right direction. And if there is a way for the processes to complete itself quicker and better, it would go a long way. already we've seen at the panchayat levels, at the gram panchayat levels, at the at other higher levels of the panchayat system. Already women are making an immense contributions. They have a say in how the policies are impacting their lives, their children's lives, their education, their surroundings, their hometowns. So I think this would be a great way for women to be initiated. And with this, we already know that India will be one of the 64 nations who provide reservation for women in the legislatures, and this would certainly go a long way.
Okay, Rakhi, now is your turn. Now, you mentioned about whether the Congress was looking at a stamp of approval back then in 2010. And since the bill was not even introduced in the Lok Sabha, it technically never lapsed. Why not continue with the same bill? Is the Modi government also not looking for a stamp of approval by calling in the special session of the parliament and then going ahead passing this landmark bill so that always remains associated with the Modi name, with the BJP 10 years name?
No, Griha, I think our Griha Mantri has made it clear in Parliament also that the earlier bill is no more alive now, because it was introduced in the Lok Sabha. The primary, the action has been taken at that time. So that is why
it wasn't introduced. It wasn't introduced in the Lok Sabha.
It was initiated. In fact, it was introduced in the basic. The process was started at that time, and that is why that whole bill is no more alive now. And the second point is that, which I want to quote, as I earlier said, that we want to ensure that there should not be any technical problem while implementation of this bill. And after Sensex, in fact, according to 84th Amendment in 2002, it is said that in 2026 you have to get that Sensex done. So after that, Sensex delimitation will be done. So all the equations would be changed, and in fact that is not going to serve the purpose for which this bill has been introduced. So that is the main reason, because of these technicalities. And the one thing I want to quote, that unofficially, in fact, this bill, because this bill will be passed from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, that is definitely going to have an impact on the distribution pattern of all parties in the coming elections also. That is very much, I am sure about this, because after introduction of this bill, unofficially, parties will definitely support the fact that they are going to, they are going to give tickets to maximum number of women in the coming elections also. So I am very much sure that...
Will it start with the BJP?
This bill will start with... Definitely. In Chhattisgarh, you have seen, Riha, out of 21 seats, in fact, we have given 7 seats to women in Chhattisgarh. Out of 21, the possible candidates, we have introduced 7 women in that list.
Okay. All right. I would have to leave the conversation there. I'd like to thank all my women panelists for joining us. I'm really sorry I'm short on time, Lavanya. I can't give you the last word because I have to wrap it up over here.